Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Tired Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys are doing well. Well, we finally got a video back up after several days of nightmare scenarios going on with my computer. Eventually, I'm going to replace this thing, but we ain't here to talk about that. We got plenty to catch up on as far as the tropics are concerned. I have been keeping track of it all. Two named storms now, one of which became the first hurricane in 2022, which is absolutely crazy to think about considering the fact that we are at the start of September and this is our first hurricane. A lot of crazy stuff going on, but we're going to go ahead and get right into that. So, well, neither storm really needs major introduction here. Alright, one to the north is was our first hurricane of the year. It is now since downgraded back to a tropical storm, but is expected to regain hurricane strength, and this is Tropical Storm Danielle. And then a little earlier today, we got Tropical Storm Earl, which is actually starting to strengthen now. Based off the last satellite imagery I was getting while I was waiting on the ensembles to load, I noticed that there was a little bit of a thunderstorm development around the center circulation, whereas earlier things were a little bit more disorganized. So we're going to go ahead and get a look at that very satellite imagery as of this time right now. And we picked a good time also to do the video, considering the fact that this was just updated about maybe 20 odd minutes ago or so. So let's go on to Cyclocane. I'm finally getting to use this because, I mean, shoot. There's just really been nothing going on in the tropics up until recently. So, and what's really cool about Cyclocane in particular is the fact that they do make little small statements, just like the National Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service, which is really nice. So now we are watching. So now we can look at the satellite imagery, and we can clearly see that earlier, if you look at the beginning of this loop here, you could literally see the center of circulation, whereas now we're getting new convection starting to form around all sides of it, and we are starting to get some thunderstorm development forming over the center, which is indicative of an intensifying storm. Now, one thing that is working against it and why it's even less likely to become a hurricane right now is the amount of wind shear. The winds we have changing of the winds with different heights. You can kind of see it with these clouds here. You can see the flow towards the lower levels pushing this way, but you can see these clouds going this way. In a tornadic situation, this would be ideal if you're looking for tornadic development, but with hurricanes, it's actually the opposite. You don't want this if you're looking for development. So it still has some obstacles ahead, but should it clear this area, it will make its way out into a more favorable environment, and this is also expected to become a Category 1 hurricane over the next 5 days. Alright, so here's the forecast track for Earl. Again, not a threat to land at the moment, but this very well could make a close pass with Bermuda. Definitely will increase the swells and some rip currents over there for sure, especially if we maintain this current track. But as far as any sort of landfalls, I'm very doubtful, especially if this storm continues to strengthen, because that's when that steering current and also what the cause of that wind shear is going to kick that storm off to the east, excuse me. And here and as we scroll down, we can actually also take a look at the spaghetti models. If I can find it. Oh wait, there we go. It's like a little small link right here. It's very easy to lose track of it. Very easy for me to lose track of this. This is only maybe the second or third time I've used this page. So here are the spaghetti models out here. Here's a better look at Earl's particular spaghetti models. So this is about where we are right now. Or actually, no, I think this is a little bit outdated. But based off what I'm seeing here, everything is showing at least a Category 1 or, well, really just a Category 1 hurricane. A couple of them couple of spaghetti strands are getting above 2. We have one that gets really bold and makes a big push towards 3, and even category 4. But likelihood of that, given the amount of wind shear that's available, or not available, but the amount of wind shear that's present, likelihood is low. About 168 hours out from now, a lot of these models have this thing kind of stalling out here. Most of them are kind of meandering at that borderline tropical storm category 1 strength, which I think it'll remain. And then probably 2 weeks out, this thing will be completely gone. All right, so we've talked about now we've talked about Earl. Let's go ahead and talk about Danielle. Excuse me. This will happen sometimes that'll happen sometimes whenever I eat some. Oops, I hit Earl again. All right, here's Danielle. All right. So this is a new statement from Cyclocane. Danielle could become a hurricane again tonight or tomorrow. That would not surprise me at all. We're pretty much right at that threshold, right at 70 miles an hour. You get to 74, you have a hurricane on your hands. And this looks like a really impressive storm, actually. I do think I would like to see a little bit better organization on the right front quadrant. But given the environment it's in, I think it's done really well. But it's also just sitting at about 2 miles an hour, just spinning around, just not moving. So it's gonna have a little bit more time over this light shear environment and relatively warm water. It's nothing like the Gulf of Mexico by any means, but conditions are still favorable for it to continue to flourish. But you can see the eye wall right here, and it's going through what looks like an eye wall replacement cycle, which probably is what caused it to weaken briefly. These hurricanes do tend to do that very often, and then they often will come back stronger. There was a forecast, the primary forecast prediction had this making its way all the way up to 85 miles an hour. Still, which would make a higher end category 1. Category 2 usually starts close to 100 miles an hour, so we aren't too far off. But definitely some very impressive stuff that we're seeing here on the satellite. So now we go to the track, the forecast track, not path, my brain's not working. But we can clearly see that this is also no threat to land. Even these little small islands out here, it's going to make it pass pretty well to the north. And basically what we're going to get out of this is just maybe some increased swell. I don't even think you're going to get any sort of thunderstorms out of this at all. So that being said, we'll go ahead and go to the spaghetti model intensity right here. Okay, here we go. Again, it's pretty much the same thing as our track. Nothing amazing. Oh, we have this one outlier here that tries to push it all the way back to the west. Look out. Look out, DC. Don't marvel. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to happen. I really hope I don't eat my words because then I'm going to be pissed. But, yeah. It definitely was kind of funny to me for a moment to see that. But, one really cool thing is that I'm seeing a lot of the spaghetti models here in agreement. None of these really have it getting towards category 2 strength except for one, but other than that, they're pretty tightly wound together, which is always a good sign. You always look for agreement in forecast models, and it's a rare thing to find, so it's pretty cool to see this. Alright, and you look at the extended track here, this looks like it might become a problem for the UK. I don't know if it keeps its tropical identity, so to speak, but still could bring some unsettled weather, especially if the storm starts moving a little bit faster. The timing, not the timing, but more so the speed of the storm is going to be a key factor in all of that. But given the way things are right now, I think it's going to take It's going to take its sweet time getting over here towards Europe. But it's definitely interesting to see that this storm may become a player for the Eastern Atlantic. Something we don't see super often. Alright, so now that we've looked at that, let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the tropics here. We're going to kind of get an idea of what other tropical waves might be out there right now. Right now, we've just mainly been seeing Danielle and Earl here doing their thing, but there hasn't really been any new activity yet. I do think this will quickly change though, because there's going to be plenty of pieces of energy floating about. I do believe, or maybe not. These little yellow blobs. No, there is some energy flying around, not much. Of course, this is the vorticity map, so it's a little bit harder to. This doesn't pick up on energy quite as quick. It looks at wind energy and vorticity, or rotation, so to speak. So you aren't gonna get something unless the storm system is usually pretty notable. There's other stuff I'm trying to look at here as well. I'm trying not to make this video too long, but I already got a feeling that I'm going to be at about 20 minutes or something. Let's just hope that my software holds up. So, oops, I didn't mean to go all the way over there. We're going to backtrack a bit here. Okay. So we're going to go to the Euro real quick. Euro already looks like it's painting a different picture. It looks like there's maybe a piece of energy right here. Doesn't look super organized though. But we move off, and then the Euro has actually got a few pieces of energy trying to develop, but these all end up getting kicked out to the east here. But most of these are going to be fish storms from the look of it here. Not really much is going to be going on as far as impacts are concerned, which is good news for everybody. So let's take a look at the Western Caribbean, because it seems like towards the Eastern Atlantic, we don't have much to worry about, especially towards the MDR. So we can see Earl right here. We can see another tropical system out in the Pacific. And we'll watch Earl get kicked out to sea, and then things just kind of go as they may. It looks pretty quiet. Big little disturbance right here. Big disturbance right here over towards the southern U.S. here, towards the Gulf states and Texas. But beyond that, things look pretty quiet. Oh, I hit the wrong button there. All right, but I saw something interesting also. That's what kind of. Dang it! I keep hitting the down button. Okay. This looks like a sneaky little piece of energy right here that we might need to watch. Does this become a factor? That's going to be the key question here. But definitely looks like it's a little bit closer to land than what Earl is right now, so that definitely kind of piques my interest a bit. All right, now we looked at the Euro for that. We're going to go ahead and go back to the GFS. All right, and then we're getting a different look from the GFS already. So this forecast is going to be relatively unreliable, simply due to the fact that the way the energy is placed around here, it's just kind of it's making for it's going to make for a very weird forecast on my part. All right, so we're actually going to jump forward a little bit here. All right. All right, here's Earl. Here's other pieces of energy flying around. And there's our little, what looks to be our low pressure here around the southern part of the U.S. That dissolves, and then get a ridge that develops, and then we do get a couple pieces of energy here. Ooh, that's an interesting little feature right there. And this looks like it makes direct impact, if it even becomes a thing. Hypothetically speaking, it would make a direct impact on the Gulf Coast towards Florida Panhandle. But yeah, both our models seem like they have a lot of energy flying around and going about in different sorts of directions. So it's hard to really get a nail down on what could happen, but it definitely warrants attention, and I'll be happy to watch it. All right, so this will be a little bit more concrete here for me. We're using the ensemble member pressures. So I may have explained this in a video before, but basically this is identifying the probability of where a low pressure is and where that center could be. The red numbers are indicative of low pressure. The blue numbers are indicative of high pressure. We're looking for the red numbers, of course, because storms are associated with low pressure. That being said, we're going to go ahead and see what the West Caribbean has to offer for us close to home, and then we'll just take a look at the tropical basin as is. So you can clearly see that right here, this is Earl, and we see this thing just getting kicked out to sea, and nothing else really going on in the early part of this model run here. Maybe towards the latter half of this Euro we start to see something. And this is an interesting feature right here. This is getting close to that 300-hour mark though as well, if I remember correctly. Yep, this is about 288 hours. And this looks like it might be inclined to make a close pass to the US if this develops. Or it might brush the coast. Who knows? But this is so far out, so hard to really get a nail down on that, but it definitely is something that I'll probably follow up on tomorrow. Oops, got a little ahead of myself here. Go to the GFS members and see what that has to offer. I do expect a slightly different picture to be painted there, given the fact that the ensemble is also showing different vorticity as well. Alright, so here we go with that. Once again, we see Earl moving out to sea. And as of right now, you don't really see too much going on. Once we get to about 174 hours out, maybe we'll start to see some energy flying about. Alright, now here we are at that 270-hour mark, and this is where we started seeing that feature right here. And we watch that potentially turn into something and maybe hit the Florida Panhandle. Then we have another piece of energy here that literally just collides with Mexico. And we have another couple pieces of energy possibly out here in the Atlantic. Looks like a mess right now. Kind of is a mess. But let's go to the tropical basin and see what we have going on there. So we're sitting at about 2 o'clock. This is GFS ensemble. Oops. Roll this along. Here's Danielle right here. Here's Earl right here. And we do get a couple of pieces of energy that try to form, but I don't know if the environment's really ideal right now. We do get... it's hard to really say that that's going to form into anything. Likelihood of it's pretty low. But we do get something forming up once we get to about 168 hours out. And then as we push this further and further along, a lot of these get kicked out to sea. Nothing really forms, nothing really going, but still looks like, according to the GEFS, that the West African coast is going to be still pretty active. So we'll go ahead and check the Euro, see how those two line up. There's many more models that go into this, but if I were to try to cover all of those, that would be almost an hour-long video, and a lot of people, I'm sure, don't even want to watch a 20-minute video. So, trying to make things as easy as I can. All right, so Danielle off to the north. Small pieces of energy that try to develop coming off of the Cape Verde region, and as we go to 168 hours, first real concrete looking piece of energy seems like it wants to develop here, and then we get a few more that try to run off the Cape Verde region, and then that's where, and over here is where things look kind of interesting, almost look kind of sus too. There's other pieces of energy around here, so that low may not even never become a thing. It may just scoot off this way if it becomes something, and just that's just an outlier run entirely. So have to take that with a grain of salt. But a lot of, yeah, there's plenty of energy. Seems like it's going to be floating about still. Coincides perfectly with this time of year, so no real surprises there. That's all I got for this video. It's a little bit messy. I'm really hoping that this thing goes up without a hitch, because the last one I did was a nightmare, and this is how I discovered the problem I had. Got over the 20-minute mark, so I do apologize for that. It's the second video of the day, and if all goes well, I will have another video up for you guys tomorrow morning. But this has been Tired Metalhead Weatherman, and I will see you then.